When I feel a bit sad and low, I like to think of stories that cheer me up. And one of the stories that cheers me up without fail is the story my mate Dan told me about his dog Ben. Now, Ben was a lovely dog in many respects, but one of his failings was he ate loads of rubbish in the garden. He'd eat hoses, he'd eat children's plastic balls, chew them up, and days later there was evidence of this in his poo, which obviously Dan noticed. Now, one day Dan was walking Ben round a park, and Ben ran off, did what dogs normally do, came back, and his tail was sort of tucked firmly between his legs. He was looking very uncomfortable. So Dan grabbed Ben and lifted his tail. To his horror, he saw another tail, which wasn't his tail. It was a piece of nylon rope about 4 inches sticking out of his backside. Poor old Ben hadn't managed to get rid of it all. Dan didn't want to have this bizarre tug of war in the middle of this park, putting his foot on Ben's backside and heaving, because obviously he'd get his hands dirty and look a bit odd. So he said to Ben to sit, and Ben sat down, and Dan put his boot on the piece of rope. And this is the genius part. Then he said, "Fetch!" to Ben, and Ben ran off like the clappers, and it came out like a ripcord. Now, the little detail that always makes me laugh in this story is the fact that Dan said that the rope was surprisingly clean. So, if you're feeling slightly blue, think of this story and it might cheer you up.